Bailey Von Warmer. Sorry. Is it?
Mom, go away. I'm recording a podcast. Recording a podcast.
Welcome back to the Verified Podcast. My name is Carlos.
My name is Shane.
I'd like to introduce Bailey Van Warmer, an up-and-coming DJ and EDM producer who has recently released a new single, Falling. I'm going to play a clip of that just so you guys can hear how talented this guy really is. Bailey, how are you doing today?
I'm doing amazing. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Doing well. It's not every day, you have up-and-coming producers on your show. How did you initially get started with EDM and producing?
Really, I was around 10 years old, 11 years old. And the pop music at the time was really, I had an electronic sound, I'd say. Like you think back to like Justin Bieber's like Believe album. And I really started getting into it. And I remember Tiesto released a song and I really got into that. And that led me to a guy named martingarrix.
Oh,
And
that's where it starts.
I just became like a fanboy over martingarrix. I loved all his music. So I was obsessed with that. And I was like, this is so sick. I want to make something like that. At the time, I had no idea what went into it. So I kind of just like threw myself off and like just dove right into it. I remember I was in 7th grade. I released my first song on SoundCloud. It wasn't the best track, but it was kind of cool. It felt good to release something that was my own. 1 or 2 years later, I released my first track on Spotify. It was called Nightmare. So I eventually took that one down, and then I released another one on Spotify, and that one's still up there. It's titled Love You. Yeah, I remember Love You got like 2,000 plays or something. So like all of 2019, I got 2,000 plays. And I was so pumped. Like at the time, I was like, 2,000? Like that's a ton. So far this year, I've already gotten 200,000 streams. So it's like, it's just like a crazy difference. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Love You to where I am now.
Should we be looking for any future collaboration? I saw like a month ago-ish, I guess, you put out a post with another producer.
Right now, I've got like a couple things planned. With something I'm really looking to do, you just mentioned my friend. Something that we're working on is an alias account. So apart from my main project, Bailey Van Warmer, it's going to be something else, kind of a different vibe. And we've been working on some like really, really chill stuff, like almost retro sounding. So it'll be a different sound that you probably haven't heard from me. And yeah, I'm just pumped about that because the kid I'm working on it with, his name's Jonathan. We just have really good energy in the studio, and I love working with him. So I really want to put some cool stuff out with him.
How has quarantine affected your producing process?
I think it's been very positive, honestly. Before I had school, so I had to go to school every day from 7 in the morning until 3. And so that took up a big chunk of my day. And then that's not even mentioning homework afterwards and trying to stay on top of all that. So with quarantine, honestly, I've just been able to just be at home pretty much the entire day. And that gives me a ton of flexibility to work on music when I'm inspired. And I can just come downstairs and pump out something new. So for me, I think it's a great thing. Obviously, there's other people that aren't doing too hot with it. But for me in production, it's been very helpful.
Thinking, I guess, too far ahead, kind of thinking about like dreams and like kind of almost living in them, almost being like, oh, I'm gonna be here, and then having that little realization that you're not there yet, and you're gonna have to put in a lot of work to get there.
Exactly.
So kind of just run me through that. Like, do you have any like kind of experience with that, or like what your kind of thoughts on that?
I think dreams are just so fundamental to achieving success. If you're not consistently dreaming about reaching the top, I feel like you just don't have enough passion about it. I think you need something driving you. You need a driving force behind yourself that's going to make you put in the work to actually get there. But you were talking about ego. I know you mentioned that in the question.
I was talking about that too.
I was doing it at, I guess, what I would consider such a young age. I was releasing stuff in middle school. And, here I was, my like 12-year-old self. I thought I was some like god. Like, I was like, oh my goodness. Like, what other 12-year-old is out here doing this? And, you know,
Right.
the music I was releasing was absolute garbage. It was trash. So, like, I had no reason to feel that way. And it wasn't until I started sending music to some other people, and they were like, "What is this?" You know, they were like, "This is trash." And I was like, "Bro, like, maybe you just, like, aren't into that style or something." And, like, they're like, "No, like, this is trash."
Bro, are you sure, dude? Maybe it's just a little too advanced for your taste.
Yeah, I had 200 IQ, man. Come on.
So, you know, I kept going, I kept being cocky, and then I remember I applied to go to some, like, NYU thing, and literally wrote my essays during lunch, and then I didn't get in. It was, like, an electronic music thing. I was like, "Why on earth would I not get in? Like, my music is heat," you know? You know, it's just those are just examples of, like, many things that have just, like, knocked me down and put me in my place. The minute you, like, start thinking your music is amazing, you know, it's probably not as amazing as you think. But you still have to have that level of confidence to keep going.
Where do you see yourself, you know, in like the craziest of crazies?
So, I mean, you know, just like every other EDM kid, so call it, you look at festivals like Tomorrowland and Ultra, and like those are just so huge for the industry. And those are like the top of the top are playing there. So I think that's a dream for me as well as many other, you know, producers. But I also definitely want to do some club gigs, maybe something a little bit smaller, but kind of do like a residence or something. Like basically you're playing there every week.
Is no EDM scene. We're not living in Europe or in California, so EDM isn't really a thing here. We have to deal with a lot of EDM stereotypes. It's just what you listen to when you're on drugs.
I think that is like completely like misleading. You know, maybe if it was like the 90s or something and like house music was still popping. But another thing, people are always like, oh, it's just party music. I don't think that's true. I think maybe that's like one side of electronic music, but there's a whole nother side of it that's just really chill and like emotional. And I would say most of the other producer kids that I'm friends with, they're maybe not like the biggest partiers. They're almost nerdier, I guess, because it's such like a complicated thing to learn. You get what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, we got
Yeah.
you. What were some of the things you did? What are some of the things you continue to do now? And I guess what did that whole promotion phase on social media look like for you?
Yeah. So one guy once told me, I was like, hey, like, you know, you have a really big following. How can I do that as a musician? And he basically the advice he told me, he said, you need to make sure every single person that knows you knows that you're a musician, knows that you're making music, knows that you're doing this. And I think that can be said for a lot of other things. You know, you guys run a podcast. I think you kind of want to go in with that mindset that every single person that ever meets you or interacts with you knows that you run a podcast. Because then there's connections that come from that. You know, you have other friends say like, "Oh, I have a friend that also makes EDM music," or "I have a friend that runs a label. I have a friend that does promotion." When I first started making music, it was trash, and I was like, I don't want my friends to know this because then they're gonna make fun of me. I'm gonna be some weird EDM kid." But looking back, I wish I had, you know, opened up to those people a lot earlier.
Yeah.
I think it's fueled by insecurity. You want to be the best. You want everybody to think you're the best, and you don't want them to think that you're like bad at something or that you're learning at something. The majority of people that were close to me, they were supporting me. They were wanting me to do well because they were close with me. They were friends with me. So I think you got to take that big step. You know, just speaking generally, everybody's got to take that big step to share that passion with people closest to them. Instagram, Bailey Writes Music. Go on Google, search up Bailey Van Warmer. My songs will come up in my profiles. So
thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you did enjoy, make sure you go and follow us on all of your favorite podcast listening platforms. We really appreciate it. Recently, we did hit over 1,000 total plays across all episodes. It was really dope, and we're really happy about that. If you want to check out our Instagram, you can check us out at verified.talk. If you guys want to check us out on YouTube, we're called Verified Media on YouTube. If you guys want to start an Audible free trial, you can go to www.audibletrial.com/verified and help us out by starting your own free 30-day trial and help out the channel a little bit. We really appreciate it. But other than that, guys, thank you so much. And I hope you guys have a killer, sick day. Go make some music if you want to.
Mom, go away. I'm recording a podcast. Recording a podcast.
thank you to Sachin for connecting us.
The push-up master.